special. And we've also been joined online by former Ambassador Dr. Jamil Khan. Thank you very much, Dr. Jamil, for joining us and being a part of our discussion. We're, of course, going to be taking a look at the current situation. And so, Dr. Jamil, I want your take as to where do you think this current scenario stands today, given, of course, what has happened since the 22nd of April, since the Belgaum incident, and then moving on, the kind of measures that we saw India undertake, the reciprocal measures by Pakistan, and to where we stand today in the ways that we see different moves and different steps being taken by the BJP government. How do you think the situation is currently progressing? Is it moving towards de-escalation or not?
Well, let's discuss it in three steps. Step one should be the historical background and basically the trend which India has developed over a period of time. And the second is the current scenario and the current threats and the current allegation which India leveled against Pakistan, and by making that as a cause has really taken certain action, including violation of Indus Water Treaty articles and clauses. So I'll come and deliberate on both these points. The background is that India is quite in a habit of false flag operation. And it's all recorded what I'm going to just enumerate that. One is that even 2016, 2018, 2020, 2021, once Clinton visited India, they had that Chhattisgarh incident of the Sikhs, and then later on, once Mike Pompeo visited, and then later on, Blinken visited, and now what they have done in Belgaum. This time they did it quite hurriedly, and it appears that they could not really connect the dots as to how to even level the allegation against Pakistan. We understand that India has not been able to, or rather has never left a chance of alleging Pakistan, and that narrative of that rhetoric time and again which India says, that cross-border linkage, cross-border terrorism, any UN platform, if they find any platform, they will just try and do that. And every time there is some VIP visiting in India, why that time or those few days are chosen for such incidents? That's one. Second, Pakistan doesn't gain anything. If they elect Pakistan, and assuming that if it was any other country or Pakistan, once some VIP and dignitary is visiting, why and what benefit another country would get by getting involved into any of these things? So that's just normal logic, and that's a normal point which could be analyzed. That is one part. And second is that every time these VIPs or these high dignitaries coming, they would like to include Pakistan's name in the joint statement of those visits, official visits. Now this time they couldn't have that with the Vice President J.D. Vance. They couldn't have that joint statement issued. And second is that they tried to incorporate, or they tried to have a statement of the Security Council, and in that the Indian tried that Pakistan's name could somehow be incorporated so far as the linkage of Belgaum incident is concerned, but the Security Council members did not agree, particularly our all-time friends like China. They did not really agree to that statement, and they would have vetoed if some countries have tried. The mover of the statement, if they had tried that, the mover of the statement was the United States, and the United States didn't really press it much, and they agreed to the modification. So these are some of the background. These are some of the factual things, and then now coming over to the point that this allegation and this temperature which has been risen, Pakistan didn't go for it. As a matter of fact, Pakistan is still maintaining that we are not going to be the aggressor. We don't want to get into it. We want peace. In fact, and every time any person from Pakistan has made a statement, particularly the responsible people, they have very clearly dilated upon one point that we like peace, we don't want any aggression, but if something is imposed on us, then obviously Pakistan would be left with no choice but to retaliate. And that retaliation is the right of any sovereign country to maintain its territorial integrity, and that is what has been deliberated, discussed, and the statement issued by the National Security Committee. Those points which has been published, known to the people, I'm sure it has been considered by the Security Council also, because that's a public document, that's an official document, that's a unanimous document, and that is a document which pertains to what scenario has developed and what India is now doing. Now, India, another the news which is coming that they have mobilized their naval power, they have mobilized their military, they have asked their civilian population to just go into the bunkers along the LOC line of control, and also they have asked their farmers to really try and just harvest their crop as early as possible. Rather, they had given about 26 to 48 hours, so that would be completing perhaps tomorrow. So all that gestures and all those steps which India is taking, it leads us to believe, and of course the intel information with the Minister of Information is already very clearly mentioned during the statement, and the world has monitored that Pakistan has a credible information that next 36 hours, as at that time he said, and now that would be completing perhaps tomorrow. And that's why even today, after 3 a.m. During the night, the airspace would be closed because we are expecting, and there are intel until in the morning. So Pakistan would be fully alert. Our air force would be completely alert. There are some intel which we could gather from the statement of the Minister of Information that they have their planning and they have zeroed some of the target. Perhaps our armed forces, they intercepted it and they know it. So therefore, they have taken appropriate measures in those areas in particular. So where do we go from here? Now the world community, one by one, is trying to mediate, is trying to tell the Indians, and of course they're desiring that it should be de-escalated. Now Pakistan doesn't have anything to de-escalate. Pakistan has only said that we would retaliate because that's our sovereign right, that's given in the United Nations Charter, that's given in the United Nations Charter Chapter 1, that each country, if attacked, has the right to defend itself and respond appropriately with the equal amount of measure and then report to the Security Council. So that's what Pakistan has already informed the entire world community, and that's why Michael Rubio has spoken with our Prime Minister. That's why Michael Rubio has spoken with Indian Foreign Minister also, External Minister, and has asked them to work out something to de-escalate. Well, we never wanted to escalate. We are only responding to what India is saying. We are only responding to the Indus Water Treaty that has, in a very clear term, been known to the entire world that water is our life, and that is under our treaty. And if that treaty is violated, our lives of the people are at stake. 240 million people are at stake. So once that's at stake, the war or the weapons are not the only instrumental or not the only tool to kill people. If you stop the water of a complete nation, then it tantamounts to killing the people. And that's why Pakistan is in its sovereign right to respond to it. And then they reserve the right, what they would do at that time.
Extremely important. And Jamil, I'll come back to that in a bit, and we'll discuss that in further detail. But
at BBC, talking to BBC. And also, when he was speaking there, I mean, he actually cleared everything, right? So I think that the entire country, and by the way, I must praise PTI also, I must praise PML and People's Party. Everyone has played their role. Every handle, every website
Yeah.
has been working for the national cause, and these should be put out. We have the combination.
Right, and that is of course integral, and we hope that also is continuing in times of peace. Also, Dr. Jamil, I'll come to you with reference to what we have seen, particularly in the response coming in from Pakistan's side, and I hope that you can hear me. There is, of course, a lot of concern with regards to a way that this is going to evolve, but we've seen Pakistan exercise a lot of responsibility, a lot of restraint in their actions, and a lot of sense in the ways it engages with the diplomatic community in this regard. And what all, of course, the protocol is also pointing towards is essential ingredient as we move forward. The kind of political and military unity that we've also engaged in is essential with the kind of resolve that is needed. But at the same time, I also want your take in how much of that is going to be reciprocated from the Indian side, whether it's coming in from their internal pressures or diplomatic pressures. And add to that, Pakistan's call for a neutral and independent investigation into the Pahalgam incident is very, very essential to making things clear and to hold those who are responsible accountable. Do you think that that's something that India will allow?
That was such an open offer, and the entire world, I'm sure, must have factored in while they are talking to India, and while the Security Council statement was being passed. At that time, also the offer of Pakistan was very logical, and it stands to reason that if someone is alleging you, you say, okay, I'm open, let's investigate it, and let's have it investigated from an impartial and a neutral third party. But they did not really agree to it. So that means there is something wrong, and there was some thing which we got to know through their own leaked papers, which is now available, which Farag was just mentioning about the telegram, which came on telegram. That's their own insider has leaked it out, because not all people working for RAW or working for any other governmental organization are the voters or supporters or the radicals of the RSS who are providing all the support and power to BJP to do whatever they are doing against the minorities, against the Muslims, against the Dalits, against the Christians, against the Sikhs. So they are the ones, and basically the leaked document, which now is open, and the entire world, I'm sure, those who are intervening and those who are mediating and those who are making their comments, knowing that if it escalates, it could have the consequences not only for India and Pakistan, but it can have the consequences. Like Pakistan really doesn't want it. Pakistan, as very clearly spelled out, and as they have remained within the international legal framework while they have made whatever statements they have made through the National Security Committee, and then what they have said that they will give an equal or the measure of response if there is any misadventure. And then the planes which scrambled, or the planes are Rafale planes, which were close to our airspace. But then our aircraft, once they scramble, and then I must appreciate our capacity and our human skills, our pilots and our radar operators. The radar, they were able to strike the waves and rays to those aircrafts, and they had to really run away from there. And that they have tested the Rafale capability with the aircraft what we have, the Thunder 17 and F-10 and other equipment, the radar equipment. So they have seen, they tried, and Mr. Information a little while ago, he was again on air, and he mentioned that the threat is still there. So yes, India would try, because India has created a hype of the kind that they become a slave of their own circumstances. The BJP government has become a slave of their own circumstances, that they have raised the temperature of their own society, particularly their own voter supporter. Not all people in India, there are senior elements, quite a large number of senior elements, the secular elements, they don't like, and then we can see the footage, how people are talking about the way the Modi government is dealing with the entire affairs. And we have already heard what Kashmiris have said and what those people who were the tourists and those survival, what they have said, that how they were helped out by the local people, how they one of the Muslim pair, they were attacked and succumbed to the injuries. So all these facts are there in front of the people around the world. And now what other options are available with India? India only wants to exploit its geopolitical significance, and that geopolitical significance is about the containment policy of the United States. That is its foreign policy, and in that India has a significance. So India tries to exploit even the United States, and this time, in my view, the United States has really had the inkling that what India is doing. India is trying to empower, the United States is trying to empower India for the containment of China. And India is diverting that power towards Pakistan and trying to exploit it by going and taking extra legal step like, in this border treaty. It abeyance, there is no word used in this border treaty where any article or anything could be put in abeyance. Yes, suspension is one thing, but even that's not mentioned, but that's mentioned in the Vienna Convention, 1969. And they could not have invoked that because that has certain steps to be followed. So since what I was discussing, Pakistan, in all their about 17, 18 points which they had issued, the statement after the National Security Committee, they are all within the legal international framework. We have not acceded. Now, what happens next? India is in the state of preparedness. We are in the state of preparedness anytime, all the time, because our people and our armed forces, they are so involved they are so battle hardened because of these terrorist activities and terrorist groups. They are all deployed. Indians, they have not really seen the conflict for the last several years. This actual line of actual control was just a skirmishes, and a very small segment of the armed forces were exposed to it. Our armed forces are quite well battle hardened because they are doing it on daily basis. They are quite well deployed in all those areas which are terrorist infested area. So they have done good practice, and Pakistan has a full preparedness which they have demonstrated. And at the same time, as I was mentioning, now look what Modi has given the instructions. Modi has given full freedom to its armed forces in a security meeting that, okay, you respond, you choose your target, and then go for that. So imagine they had to change one corps commander, they had to change the deputy Air Force commander. That shows that even within their armed forces, there are saner element. They understand what could be the consequences. They understand the level of preparedness of our armed forces. They know that what embarrassment can be faced by India with the kind of a hype they have created, and the way Modi administration, Modi himself presiding over a meeting, he says that, okay, you have a full freedom and go and attack whatever target you zero in. So that, and then for that purpose, they can do a couple of things which the world is monitoring, which appears that as they've been doing it in past, they will do it again. That is the forward military operations. And then for that also, the readiness and preparedness as our military leadership and the political leadership has already very clearly dilated upon. And then the second option which they tried once they scrambled the Rafale aircraft, and we saw that once our Air Force was also in the air, once they scrambled, the public, the surgical strike, that would again this time be a mistake like Pulwama. and that would be responded because of this preparedness. Naval mission, they have quite few missiles as a practice, as an exercise, and they've tested their multiple capability. So our
Right. Thank you very much, Ambassador Saab, for joining us and being a part of the discussion. I believe we've lost the connection. But Faisal, I'll